Patchalong 5.0. This is block number 2. Today we're going to be machine quilting using the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler, the Sway 3 machine quilting ruler, and of course my favorite marking tool, the blue Mark Be Gone marker. Let's hop over to my machine and let's get stitching. Welcome to the 9 Patchalong 5.0. In this series, we'll explore 9 unique 9-patch machine quilting designs, perfect for quilters of all skill levels. To get started, you'll need a few essential materials and supplies. We'll be using the Sway machine quilting rulers available at peaceandquilt.com and marking our quilts with the blue Mark Be Gone marker. To remove the marks, mist the area with a solution of 1 cup water and 1 teaspoon baking soda, repeating as necessary until the marks are completely gone. The batting we will use is Quilter's Dream wool, and the threads are so fine and the Super Bob bobbins. All of my quilting is done on a Gammill 22-inch machine, stitching in the stitch regulated mode at 13 stitches per inch. Each design is taught by me, Natalia Bonner, using these machine quilting rulers, ensuring you achieve the best results. Quilters of all skill levels and machine types are welcome to join, but you must have a machine in good working condition, a basic knowledge of ruler quilting, a ruler foot, and base plate. Additionally, the piecing pattern and design workbook for this series are available for purchase at peaceandquilt.com. Let's get started and create some beautiful quilts together. I'm going to start out block number 2 by doing a bit of marking. The ruler that I am using here, this long straight ruler, is a ruler that I purchased from the Quilted Pineapple. So I'm marking across this 9-patch block, point to point straight lines using the blue Mark Be Gone marker. Because I am using a blue marker on obviously blue fabric, you can see that I'm marking kind of a heavier line. So I'm definitely going to need to make sure that I mist away these lines probably several times. Once I have all of those lines marked going in one direction, I'm also going to mark them all going in the opposite direction, essentially creating X's through each of my blocks. Once I have those X's all marked out, then, like I did in 9 Patchalong block number 1, I am also here going to use that hook end on the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler to mark the quilted lines. And I'm going to first mark those same lines, so I'm going to create circles. All of the Sway machine quilting rulers are designed so that hook end of the ruler can mark perfect circles. Then the circular end and the concave side of the ruler are designed for quilting. So whenever you're machine quilting a curve, you need to take into consideration that you're adding 1/4 of an inch. So from your needle position to the outside of the foot is most often 1/4 of an inch. So that's the way I've designed the rulers. You can use the hook end for marking and then the circle end and the concave side for quilting. Now whatever number is on the Sway machine quilting ruler, that's the size of curve you can mark and quilt. So here I am marking perfect 4-inch circles and curves. Through that hook end of the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler, there are a few lines. Right through the center, you'll see that there's an X and also a T that's indicated. So that goes right to the center of that circle. If you line those lines up right on top of here, it would be the seam where the blocks come together, but I am working on a panel, so it's where the colors come together. But I line that up, mark the curve around the outside, then simply flip the ruler and continue to mark. So I'm going to repeat that process. I am doing a lot of marking on this quilt and throughout this 9 Patchalong, just so that you can see reference points. With some quilts, I'll do this much marking, but then with some quilts, I'm like, I know how this is going to turn out. I don't need to do quite as much marking. But if you're ever skeptical, go ahead and mark it out and get an idea for what your design is going to look like. Now I'm ready to begin quilting. I like to do all my quilting working across my quilts from top to bottom, left to right. So most often with my quilting, you're going to see that I will start on the left side. With this block, I did go through and based around the outside of the block already. So my block is pretty secure. So I feel like starting at the bottom side of the block and working across, I still feel like my block is stabilized pretty well. So I am going to start out just like we did that first block and stitch point to point curved lines using that circular end of the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler. If you remember, in the first block, we started up at the top of the block and worked the way across. Here, I'm showing you that I'm starting at the bottom of the block, and I want to show you that so that you can see there is not always one path to create a design. Maybe you want to start at the bottom because that's where you just finished quilting your sashing. Then you can quilt the same design starting at the bottom. But we're going to change this one up just a little bit. So the foundation of the block will be the same, but we will change it to add a bit of interest. Now you can see a little sneak peek of that awesome polka dot sashing there. I do have a free video tutorial available where I share how to machine quilt that adorable sashing. So I'm going to continue on using that concave side as well as the circular end of the Sway 3 machine quilting rulers to stitch in a snaking method or a snaking pattern. Those curved circles or lines, they're going to start out as lines, but then they'll turn into circles as I work my way across this block. Now you'll notice that I am working with the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler. So when I'm using the circle end of the ruler, I'm lining up the marked lines that go right through the circle end of the ruler on top of the seams on the block. And then when I use the concave side of the ruler, I'll hold the ruler 1/4 inch away from where I want my thread to intersect. And I'm eyeballing that, so I may need to adjust slightly. Why do I do that? Why do I hold the ruler like that? Well, personally, I have found that I am most comfortable and I have better control of my machine quilting when I hold my machine quilting ruler in a comfortable position, which most often means closer to my body. When I'm trying to hold my rulers like behind the foot, I find I just don't have as much control. So the Sway rulers really help me keep my hand in a nice, comfortable position. I'm going to repeat this process, quilting these curves until I have quilted, filling in the block completely. Once I've filled in that block completely using the Sway 4 machine quilting ruler, now I'm ready to switch to the Sway 3 machine quilting ruler and really dress up this design. So remember how we started out by marking those straight lines through the block. Well, now we're going to quilt along those straight lines. I am quilting here using the circular end and the concave side of the Sway 3 machine quilting ruler along that marked line. Again, remember kind of that snaking pattern that I like to use. I'll use that same one. Here I'm working across the block from that top left corner all the way to the bottom right corner. So as I work back up to that top left corner, you're going to see how now my lines will cross over and it really just creates a nice, beautiful stitching line. So what point am I quilting to? I am quilting this line or these curved lines across the block. But when I stitch to the point where my marked line intersects my thread, that's when I stop and quilt the next curve. So I've created that first chain all the way across the block. Look how cute that is and how much just simple detail you can add to a block with really simplistic curved lines. Once I have that first set of lines all quilted out, so that curved chain, should we call it a chain? That seems like a good idea. Then I'll travel down my ditch along the side of the block and I'm going to repeat that process again. So I'm holding the Sway 3 machine quilting ruler 1/4 of an inch away from where I want my thread to intersect and then just stitching along that line. This time though, when I stitched my second set of lines, you're going to notice how when I get all the way across my block, so down to the bottom of the block, then I can actually turn and change directions. Work over to the right side of the block, just following that marked line. And then from there again, I'm going to turn, stitch up to the top of the block. Once I get up to the top of the block, then I'll stitch right back to where I started this chain. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that process, but that time, the second time, just completing the chain. And I'll repeat that same pattern over and over until I have filled in this block completely with this chain. I love how this block turned out. It's so fun, isn't it? How you can really dress up a block with simple curved lines. I can't wait to see you all in the 9 Patchalong 5.0 block number 3.